Hello, beautiful soul tribe. And just like that, it's the second part of September. We hope you had an interesting, magical Pisces new moon. How are you, Karina? How is your, no, sorry, full moon? How is your full moon?
It's actually been feeling a lot like that, a lot like we just went through a new moon. Um, but we have a new moon coming up in a week. So it's interesting. It's felt very flowy. Pisces is in my sixth house, and Virgo is in my 12th. So it's really been allowing myself to flow into ground, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've just been playing, like flow into ground. How can I do that? How can I incorporate both? How can I have the structure and also the flow? Because there's such dreamy times going on. And I'm not one that remembers my dreams a lot. So I feel like I'm living the dream through the day, which is interesting because it's a trip, right? To take a step back and kind of watch your life play out. And then of course there's that ego and that masculine side that's like, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough, Karina, get up, you're not doing enough. And then there is the other side of me that's like, if you're going to record practical cosmic magic, you need to feel into the vibe. Like, it's okay to do nothing because you're allowing space. And when you allow space, such beautiful things come through. So that's where I am and how I am. How are you? And how is your dream space?
Oh my gosh, I like how you said that. I was actually about to segue to the 17th because it's such a beautiful embodiment of grounding the dream, but being in the liminality and allowing that spaciousness so that our intuition can actually kick in more than our minds because this sun in Virgo is just, and the ego trip is just whack. So with your question, how my dream space is, it's been really wild. I've always had really vivid dreams, and I'm the type who remembers my dreams throughout the day. So it's more of, for me, taking a step back to integrate the dream because obviously it's the reality, this 3D space that I'm bringing to my subconscious. And when I dream, it's like, hey, wait a minute, there are messages here that you may not be integrating fully, just also because I have a lot of air in my chart. The full moon happened in my fourth house. So this fourth and 10th house of, oh my gosh, I just want to be at home and be with my husband and just enjoy all these like lovey spaces. Also because it's our anniversary. Our wedding anniversary is tomorrow. But also we have to record this. Thank you. We have to do this. We're launching this. Like all Virgo things of I have to fix this and organize this and that and tend to the house and all of these things. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting. It's been pretty interesting. But with that said, grabbing again the pieces that came from Karina for the 17th, our first major aspect, again, we don't really have a lot of major aspects, like we said on part one, but it gives us this space to expand and then contract and then rest and then integrate the major aspects because the major aspects are just, and they last long because they involve a lot of they involve our transpersonal planets. So these are the outer planets, which are all retrograde, by the way. So on the 17th, the moon is in Gemini and the sun in Virgo opposes Neptune in Pisces. So everything that Karina just mentioned, trying to ground the dream, trying to make space because there's a lot of liminality and a lot of nebulousness when it comes to Neptune. It's the planet of dreams, it's the planet of magic and mysticism and deception, illusion, myth, creativity also, and imagination. A practical tip for this day. Let's try actually for the rest of next week. Just because we have a lot of Neptune aspects, and Neptune is retrograde, and Neptune is about to go back to Pisces. where this grand conjunction of Jupiter and Pisces happened last April. So what was happening to you in April? What push, how are you now flowing into the magic that was revealed to you from April? But also, if you can, an invitation, try not to make any major decisions until we really have more information, because the thing with Neptune and the thing with the coming Mercury opposite Jupiter is there's a lot of optimism. It's like, oh, this is too good to be true. It's just like, it's so grand, it's so visionary, let's do it type of energy. But with the sun still in Virgo, an exercise of discernment and really going into our bodies and feeling into the decision instead of using our minds and this linear logic way of trying to come up with a decision versus, apples to oranges, pros and cons. It's more of what feels good, what feels aligned, what feels yummy, and intuit your way into flow. How is that day landing for you?
I like that. What feels yummy. So I was sharing with you, which obviously I'm not going to share in full detail right now, but my husband just got offered a job, and to help him out, I wrote him a letter. And what I wrote in the letter was exactly that. Like, okay, you've done the pros and cons, you've thought about all of it, you've taken in all the information from all the different people that it could affect, that it could have an effect on, and now can you take 10 minutes, just 10 minutes to sit with yourself? And if it's so uncomfortable to just sit with yourself, like put on a song, close your eyes, and allow your body to reveal to you what your body wants you to do. Because there are so many words, for God's sake, like Virgo, there are so many words. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is about to retrograde all the way into Virgo, bringing all these words into question. And so really the only thing that we can rely on right now is our bodies and our dreamscape and the subliminal. I feel like it's just so loud outside, and we've been saying this and we knew it would happen. Mars and Gemini, like there's a lot of information, there is a lot coming up, there is a lot of illusion, there is a lot of confusion, there is a lot of people feeling one way and wanting to get everyone to feel the same way. And so really, I think you said the other day, like tread lightly. Tread lightly. How can we tread lightly? Like go easy, more than on anyone else and more than on anything else, on ourselves. Because when we're going easy on ourselves, it reflects out. People can see like, oh, this girl is too hard on herself. She's trying to do this many things. Or, oh, this girl is glowing. And even though she looks like she's not currently doing anything, it looks like there's so much going on beneath the facade or just beneath what we can see. And that's magic, right? Have you felt that, like looking at someone that embodies like the goddess archetype, the Virgo archetype, that on the surface they look like a normal human, but when you look into their eyes, you're like, wow, there's so much here. That's how I feel about you.
I was gonna say, yep, you. Thank you for the visual.
Thank you. And yeah, I think that's a great practical tip. And I think a practical tip to add would be just keep checking in. Is it coming from your head or is it coming from your heart? That's important with Mercury retrograde still being in Libra.
Yeah.
Did we say Venus square Mars?
Not yet. Please.
Okay. So on the 17th, we said Sun is opposite Neptune, right? Which is creating this dreamy flow into ground vibe. And then we also have Venus square Mars. Venus, the feminine, Mars, the masculine. Venus is in a feminine sign, Virgo. Mars is in a masculine sign, Gemini. They form a square to each other. What do squares do? They challenge each other. They bicker a little bit. They try to get you to the point that you're so frustrated that you're just going to make the change, even though the change feels scary and big and maybe frustrating. But then it's something that's going to bring about something that's never been seen before, I feel like, because that's what squares do. They bring about this perspective that is just so helpful. And with Virgo and Gemini, they're both mutable and they're both changeable. And also with Virgo and Pisces, which is the other aspect happening on the same day, mutable. So there is just so much mutable, adaptable, flowy energy in the air. And if I can base it on, let's say, my social media feed and all of the stories that I've been seeing, everybody's losing their minds. They're like, what's going on in the sky? Why is my cat knocking over my plant? Why is my technology not working? Why is like all these things are happening? And what is the invitation? To slow down, come back in. Why do you want it to work? Why is it so important that it works right now? When things aren't working, can you say, okay, I'm going to give you a little break and then come back to you and see if it still feels the same? That's how I feel with this Venus square, Morris, because it's just like flow versus go, you know?
Perfect. I like that. Flow versus go. And it's interesting how both of these signs, so this is our feminine nature and our masculine nature, just squaring each other of whether we should do more or whether we should rest more. And I just like, and it's very interesting how both of these archetypes are in Mercury's rulership, while Mercury is in Venus's rulership. So there's still that bigger theme of drop into your heart. How can you use your will and your mind to drop into your heart and allow your heart to lead the way? Sun opposite Neptune, we're still on the 17th, but we're taking so long in this day because it sets up, the second half of September. This is an invitation to really dream into your purpose with your with Venus in Virgo. This is your wholeness, your sovereignty, your being. And Mars in Gemini is, the ways and perspectives that you put into play so that you can achieve or go after the thing that you truly desire. But how can we use those forces now to really reel in a bigger purpose, a soul purpose? Because Neptune, after all, is our higher heart. And although there's a wide opposition between Venus and Neptune, I mean, we're going to get to that exact opposition. There's a buildup of our higher heart, Neptune, meeting with our lower heart, Venus. And oh my God, I can spend another hour just talking about what Venus is doing in the sky right now and this whole Venus underworld journey. But yeah, I'm gonna lead us to the next day. What is your purpose? How can you dream into your purpose and use, the forces of your mind to actually be a servant to your heart than the other way around? And because on the 18th, we have the last quarter square. So, this waning moon, the energy of a waning moon is the last out breath. There's an exhaling, a contraction, if you will, a surrendering and a releasing of everything that culminated from the last full moon, because we're about to enter a new cycle. And with Venus on this day, on the 18th, with Venus trining the North Node, again, what is our collective purpose? What is our individual sovereign purpose? And how can that help the collective to move forward towards, this new that we're all wanting to build, a more equanimous, harmonious, balanced life where we have equal amounts of energy for rest, the same way that we have for productivity. The same day, we also have Mars sextile Chiron, who's retrograde in Aries. We talked about Chiron retrograde. That's again our wounded productivity, our wounded identity, and how much of our identity is actually attached to our productivity. How much of our identities have we attached to the masculine ways of going about the world, which is pushing, forcing, versus, other perspectives of looking at things from just spaciousness And taking a step back, like Irina said, taking a step back and feeling into how we can move towards our desire. How about you?
I like it. We have a lot of North Node stuff going on this month, if you haven't noticed. Not
Building up
you,
to
if-
building up to eclipse season too. October's eclipse season.
Yes, exactly. And the first half, we had quite a few North Node aspects that were quite beneficial. And I mean, yes, those were the exact days, but it's playing out because the North Node is like a big orb of space, isn't it? Yes. Okay. So it's playing out. So we may not be feeling it immediately, but we are slowly feeling it unfold within this a year and a half. As the North Node moves through, North and South Node move through where they are right now. But I like how you said wounded productivity, and I also like how you said allowing enough time to rest as much as we do to get work done, because Virgo season, I feel like, is a trip up in that way, that it's like, what's your routine looking like? What's your schedule looking like? If you don't have something every hour, are you really doing something? Like, and because it's Mars sextile Chiron, it can be really loud in the head of like, it can be really good. It can be this wounded productivity encouraging you to create new ways of communicating what you're feeling with your community. Or it could be this wounded productivity having it get too loud in your head and be like, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough. But also Venus trine North Node, how can you come back to your values? How can you come back to your worth? How can you remember that just being alive makes you worthy? And so now that you're alive and worthy, what are you going to do with it? I think this is such a beautiful day to ask. And it's interesting because Virgo and Taurus both have money, like so like rooted into it. But if it wasn't about the money, what would you do? Have a look at that and see how you can adjust your value system based on that, so that you can do more things. And instead of doing it because the money is there, you're allowing the universe to see that you're taking a chance on it. And in return, the universe might give you money for it. You know what I mean? Like, we live in such a crazy time that I think it was in the last expansive space that I had, or the last one, where I said manifestations kind of feel like a thing of the past. Like, it's, you don't anymore have to manifest. All you have to do is think about what you want, get so clear about it, remove the blocks, which essentially is what manifestation is. But it's just so fast now. Like, think about it, figure out where the blocks are, remove the limiting beliefs, ta-da, you have it in front of you. Like, what? So yeah, have a look at your value system and at what you're doing with your life, and what would you be doing if it wasn't about the money. That's my thing for the 18th. Yeah, which takes us to the 19th. The 19th is kind of big. We have Sun trine Pluto. Sun is in Virgo, Pluto is in Capricorn retrograde. Mercury opposite Jupiter. Both of them are retrograde. One is in Libra, one is in Aries. This happened already, right? In part 1, where we were talking about. And then Venus sextile Lilith. Venus is in Virgo, and Lilith is in Cancer. Sun trine Pluto. I feel like this is again a conversation of wounded productivity, based on limiting beliefs, based on traditions, based on what we were told, based on what's been said by the patriarchy. And coming back to Sun in Virgo and coming back into our body to feel what feels right. When am I overdoing it? When is it just too much? Coming back to plants, like, oh my God, yesterday I'm just going to share a little small bit, but yesterday I had a beautiful moment with plants, because we're going to make body oils in tomorrow's expansive space. And I was getting some plants from my mini balcony garden. And as I was taking plants from each plant, a song came to me. And the song just goes, please, can I have some of your magic? And then for like, okay, I'll sing it. I'm shy, but I'll try. It goes, it goes, please can I have some of your magic? And then whatever's after, like to light up the world. Please can I have some of your magic? And then whatever you want. So this could be your tip for the 19th, like create the song. Please can I have some of your magic? With whatever you want magic from, whether it's a plant, whether it's a person, whether it's the divine goddess, whatever it is, and write down why. To help my girls, to ground my word, to, you know, anything it is, just because that way we're asking, please, may I have some of your magic? Like, it's so, you know, and after doing that whole plant ceremony and singing to the plants, I felt my heart so full, because it's not like I was trying to sing anyone else's song, but I was only trying to sing my own song. And so create a tone or a tune that works for you and sing it in a way that feels right in your body. That way you're not judging yourself. That way you're not going back to the limiting belief that maybe you were told when you were young that you can't sing, you can't dance, you can't perform, you can't, you know. This is Capricorn. This is Pluto and Capricorn, taking away everything that we were told that we can't do because it wasn't the way the world was, and going into Sun and Virgo and being like, but this is how it feels right for me to serve. And so I'm going to serve in this way, even if it's just momentary. And even if it may, like the way I need to serve may change in time, I'm going to serve this way right now.
So beautiful. I don't even want to add to that for that day. Yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your magic. Thank you for sharing your magic in that way that you do now. Okay, which leads us to the 20th with Venus trining Uranus. And oh my gosh, you woman, you with your Uranus and your magic and your unique expression of you, of your body, of your language. This is Venus trine Uranus. To be open to surprises, and perhaps that, an insightful song, something from the ether that you're able to ground into your body and making it a potent medicine to serve yourself and then others, but yourself first. I mean, Venus is still in Virgo, and I don't want to say it's quite a selfish sign, but it is somehow. But it's selfish because it's selfless. Yeah, that's really what I'm getting from Venus trine Uranus. That was everything that you did the day before, and especially Moon is in Cancer. And what a beautiful way for you, what a beautiful share that, you know, your intention for taking from the plant is to extract its essence, to serve and nourish and nurture your girls in your expansive space. So with Moon still in Cancer on the 19th and the 20th and Venus trining Uranus, how can you allow, you know, that surprise, that insightful spark of magic to push you to share your medicine in spite of everything.
Thank you. And in all fairness, you said you don't want to say Virgo is a selfish sign, but it kind of just wants to. It's the sixth sign. So it's the last sign in the personal signs or personal houses. So it makes sense for it to be a little bit selfish, because after this we have Libra. And in Libra, we have to serve the other, or we see ourselves through the other. And so, of course, it's important that from Aries to Virgo, we figure out who we are, we figure out what's going on, we work with our body, we ground it all in, so that once we move into Libra, it's not like, oh my God, I'll be whoever you want me to be. It's more like, I know who I am. And now that I know who I am, I also know who you are. And I know that I'm not going to be exactly who you tell me to be. I'm going to be who I am. And I know that you're going to respect that because I respect who you are. Like it's just that. And that kind of sounds like Mercury in Libra as well, and what Mercury is working on right now. But Thank you. I love so much what you said, and your share reminded me of the book Big Magic. Big Magic. It's 11:55 as I say that, so that's magic. But it reminded me of Big Magic.
This is Mercury opposite Jupiter too. This is big magic.
Seriously, and I have Jupiter conjunct my ascendant, so all of this is going kind of crazy in my mind, but it's really reminding me of this book. Let's just go there this time, where she talks about how ideas, and I think I also shared this in the last video or sometime, but where she talks about ideas floating around just waiting to be anchored by humans, and if we don't respond to the idea is going to go to someone else, and that person can ground in and listen to that idea. And so that's what your share reminded me of, because it's like there are all of these ideas, all of this magic, all of these ethereal things floating in the ether, and if you did the work on the 18th with doing the value work and figuring out what you really want, figuring out where your values lie, what comes to you on the 20th may be these lightning bolts and inspirational memories or ideas to propel you forward into what you actually want to do. And it may not be a good time to begin yet, because so many planets are in retrograde, Mercury is in retrograde, but this is a good time to begin getting insight and begin communicating with yourself, mind and heart, like, how is this marriage looking? And yeah, that's how I feel. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me the space to say big magic wrong like 50 times.
But also, just a side note, with Uranus, man, go with the flow and expect the unexpected. Because in as much as we're here talking about this planetary archetype, you just can't say you can't put Uranus in a box. There's no, there's just no way to put Uranus in a box. So yeah, just be open to surprises. Shocks and revelations, but let's not go there. And with that, we're we're ending, we're closing this Virgo energy, and it's such a beautiful presentation of the chart and the first 6 houses, because we're closing the first half, the first 6 houses, as we move to Mabon, or equinox. It's September equinox, where sun equals day again. And we're about to enter yet another seasonal turning, where darkness is going to be longer than daytime. And archetypically, if we feel into that, this is a time of winter. This is a time of longer nights. And with this, with a lot of planets retrograde, Mars about to go retrograde. So Venus is the only planet that's not retrograde right now. Not even including the asteroids, Lilith's retrograde, Chiron's retrograde, and a bunch of other Kuiper belts. Objects are also retrograde. It's wintertime. It's retreat season. It's internal season. And even though Venus is not retrograde, Venus is in the underworld. She is going behind the sun. And she is meeting up with the sun in what we call a Venus star point in Libra that hasn't happened in our lifetime. And it's not going to happen again in any of our lifetimes. So this Libra energy, building intimacy, but you're seeing into yourself as you see through the other. You're knowing yourself more as you are knowing the other, and you are servicing the other. This is like, there's a whole Libra energy going on here. I don't even know where to start, Miss Libra rising. You want to ground us here?
I love it. That sounds so cool. So Venus, Stargate, and Libra. I do want to point out, though, you said we're closing Virgo and we're going into this new season. But that same day, Mercury retrograde moves from Libra into Virgo. And so they're like switching. The sun and Mercury are switching. And also, I was talking to you about this the other day about how I want to start incorporating more Vedic astrology. So if we're thinking Vedic astrology, which is where the planets are at the exact moment that we speak, the sun is just going to be moving into Virgo as we feel like the sun is moving into Libra. And this might confuse you a little bit, but that's the point. That's the point of Mars in Gemini, to kind of shake it up for you so you feel what feels right in your body, right? Because I don't know, for all you know, you may be watching this and being like, these girls don't know what they're talking about. This is not what I'm feeling in my body. And if you're not feeling this in your body, maybe you're feeling more of where the planets are exactly right now, which is the Vedic system. But either way, you're feeling Virgo energies, Libra energies, and a lot of Taurus energy, I feel like, and also Aries. So there is a lot of ground here. There is a lot of ground. There is a lot of foundation that we've been working on the last few months, even this whole month with the sun in Virgo. So now when the sun enters Libra, there is a lot of air, but ideally we've done the grounding work that when the air comes, when the inspiration comes, when these conversations, these ideas, all of these things come, we know and we are centered in our ground that we can take in these perspectives without having each perspective that we take in shift our own belief, our own idea. And we spoke about in a new moon circle long time ago about how maybe it's not really the best thing to have beliefs. I remember sharing this after watching it from Jana Romer, because she was saying how when you have a belief, you're stuck to it and you're not open to any other ideas. But I think at this point in my life, that was like a year ago, maybe at this point in my life, I feel like beliefs are necessary, but they need to be changeable beliefs. They cannot be so solid and so stuck, because that's when we're attuning too much to the fixed archetype. And if we're attuning so much to the fixed archetype and so much around us is mutable, we're going to feel resistance. So it's interesting, right? Because it's a trip, because we need fixed energy to hold the mutable energy, but we can't have so much fixed energy that we're not even allowing the mutable energy to play out, because the mutable energy is so beautiful. It's what allows us to blend everything together. It's what allows us to, like you said, like see ourselves through the eyes of the other. I was watching something also by James Burgess recently, and he was saying it's so beautiful to share more about ourselves with the other, not so that the other can know about us, but so we can learn more about ourselves. And I, as a Libra Libra rising, understand that so deeply, because a lot of times I make sense of my thoughts and of what's going on up here through communicating it and hearing what I'm saying. For a while, I would record voice note conversations talking to myself just so that I could hear what I'm saying if I didn't want to say it to anyone else. So I feel like to ground all of it, it's really important to have your values set, have these fixed areas, have these beliefs that are, yes, changeable, but that are taking you through this new season where you understand that rest is as important as working, because that's also a marriage, right? Venus and Mars, that's also a marriage. Okay, how do you feel? And Sun is going to conjunct Mercury retrograde before they do that little switcheroo. It's so interesting.
Right? How these planets actually dance. You see them in the morning and then they meet with the sun for a reset. And then they go, you see them in the evening. And then they meet with the sun again to reset and then go to the morning star. So as with everything, there's cyclicality to it, an expansion and then a contraction, a resting and a productivity time. And it's just, it goes up and down, in and out, over and over and over again. And this Mercury leaving Libra, and then regressing into Virgo, it's it's culminating your 6 months. It's a actually not just 6 months. It's a culminating of, I even want to go further back into October, where Mars met Sun in Libra. What was happening to you in October? What bridges or friendships? Hi, Nabs. Hi, Nabs. What bridges and friendships and othership relationships to people, things, relationship with relationships in general. It doesn't even have to be people. Have you built? Where, what relationships are needing to naturally atrophy so that you can resource, that bridge into building more sovereign, aligned, um, potent connections, which is Virgo, so you can still be more sovereign. The opposite of this of Libra is Aries, right? So the difference between, or the opposition, the polarity between being in a group, serving to please versus going your own way. And with a lot of Chiron in Aries, there's a lot of, there may be a lot of confusion that we're floating into in our bodies of, I want to keep the peace. I want to keep the harmony, but I also want to go my own way because I know that if I just trust myself enough, I can be more potent. I can serve more. I can be more. I can do more. But this is where I am. This is where the community that I'm in. There's not a lot of people who can understand me here. How is this like the tension of the opposites? How are you holding this tension within you? Because that is Libra's lesson for the next 30 days while Sun is in Libra. And I also want to anchor in what Karina said with sidereal astrology. So sidereal astrology means it's of the stars. It's where the stars are. Whereas tropical astrology, what we do here, more Western tropical astrology, it's seasonal based, where we start the year at Aries, that's spring equinox, and it's based on the turning of the four seasons. But I want to bring in with sidereal and your desire. Decidere, the meaning of the word desire, comes from Latin decidere, of the stars. If we anchor that in, our soul desires is not, it's not just ego based, but it's what we are here for. We are here to go after our desires and anchor our desires because our desires are of the stars, as we are of the stars. So how can we be starlight? How can we bring back that balance and harmony within ourselves so that we can rise as virgins, whole unto ourselves? Not virgin as how the patriarchy would define virgin, but just as sovereign beings, because we're so whole, we understand ourselves, we're so intimate with ourselves that we can be intimate with the other, and we can be intimate with life because of it. I went on a whole spin.
I loved it. I loved it so much. It's so funny because just as you said, relationships, my husband popped in. It can't get more real and he couldn't even hear you. And also I love that you said that Decidra is of the stars. That's incredible. I never knew that. That's like and as you were saying that, I was pulling some cards and the first one that fell out was longing for the stars. And so really longing for home and homesick for the stars, and really, do we really have to be homesick for the stars, or can we incorporate the stars into this earth? Because maybe that's why we came to earth, to incorporate more of this magic,
Starlight, yes.
mysticism, starlight, creativity, splendor, spectacle. Like, when you look at a star, what are the words that come to your mind? And likely the words that come to your mind are the same words that you're here to bring to the earth.
Bones.
Like, we make it so complicated, but actually it's really simple. It's really simple, especially spirituality. Like, The new age has made spirituality such such a sellable thing,
Yeah.
such a marketing material kind of thing. But what is spirituality other than living from the side of us that's not thinking from our head? Like, that's spirituality. It's just feeling from our body, feeling from our heart, doing things that feel right, listening to our intuition, listening to our gut. Like, really, it's simple. Anyway, more cards. So I'll share the tarot cards first. This one has been coming out for me a lot. This is the Five of Wands, and it basically talks about collaboration instead of competition. And it fell. It's not about doing better than other people. It's not about doing more. It's not about doing something more creative. It's really about teaming up to all be able to work to get the fire and also to share the fire. Everyone kind of needs to work together. It's so old age. I don't even know what that means, but it's so old age to think of, oh, that person has a tarot business. Oh, they're my competitors. No, like, that's not how it works anymore. Because yes, okay, she has a tarot business. She has a tarot business. I read tarot, but we all are reading based on our own experiences, based on our own authenticity, based on our own like life. And so everyone, like, every way everyone reads is going to be different, just like astrologers, just like, the new jobs or the new work that we've been creating are that type of work that you don't need to be jealous that someone else is doing it too. In fact, you get curious and you want to come together. Like Thea and I, we both read charts, we both do astrology, but I'm not like, oh my God, I'm so jealous of Thea and the way she does astrology. I'm like, I am so in awe of Thea and the way she does astrology. Let's blend our astrology together. Let's see what we can get from each other, and in turn build something together for the rest of the world. Like, that is the new age. That is Sun moving into Libra, combining forces to serve even better, because Virgo is figuring out how you want to serve. Libra is, ooh, but if I add this, it will make it that much more. And then we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant corresponds to, if I'm not mistaken, corresponds to Taurus. And so again, it's coming back to your values, coming back to what do you believe inside. Take that time with yourself. And I need to share, we've been talking about Virgo and Taurus, and this is Taurus and this is Virgo. The Hierophant and the Hermit. Take time to feel. You are starlight. You have starlight within you. How are you sharing it out? So it's Hierophant. Sit with yourself, sit with your worth, sit with your values, and then feel into gratitude. Feel in Nine of Cups, feel into gratitude for everything that surrounds you. Switch your perspective, switch your perception, because when you're tuning into that frequency, you're going to be attracting more of that frequency, and you're going to be able to share it with people, which then after this is the Hermit, which is when you step into gratitude, when you feel gratitude, when you revel in everything that's around you, even when these things are not around you in physical life, you still know that they exist within you in your spiritual life. And this card also says you've come far. You've made a lot of moves. You've done a lot of things. You've been so determined. So how can you now trust that you have what it takes to not have notes every time you speak, to not be rethinking about what you shared, if what you shared was right or wrong, right? It's really, and I'm also saying this to myself because this is just the beginning of me doing this without notes. And it's a trip, because it's like, did I share everything I could have shared? But then it's also like, when you surrender, you're allowing everything that needs to come through in the moment to come through, instead of trying to control, instead of trying to, just control, which is what's happening on such a large scale right now, that the last thing we need to do is controlling our own bodies and lives. And then we have the longing for stars. You were talking about the stars, and all the star cards fell out. We have Star Brothers, which is Horus energy, protection, loyalty, safety, and trust. So like know that you can anchor in the light, and you have star brothers and sisters that will protect you, that will share in your light, that will guide in your light. You're not alone. There are so many of us here that are waking up to this, and the beginning stages of waking up, you feel like you're alone until you connect with more people like this. Like I felt I was so alone a couple of years ago, and then I found Thea, and then I found like more people, and I was like, wow, we're actually a community. We're not alone. There are so many of us. You're part of a team of souls, a star family. Call and support. For all you know, like there are so many of us that have come in one soul pod and broken apart to share our magic in different shimmers. And lastly, your life is a canvas. What are you creating of it? What are you creating of it? Artist, manifestation, and creative accountability. And this is a poll for Libra season. So these are all like things to remember through Libra season.
So beautiful and so perfect. You wrapped up the remaining days. I mean, all those cards, as always. Just surrendering to the magic that unfolds every time we record this, because those cards, when they fall off, it's just beyond words and beyond words. There's so much words that we can throw at this, but yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I was ruminating on something yesterday. We always say, and this is something of Virgo, right? We always say, how can we be to be on this earth, but not of it? Did I say that? Did I say it that right? That term?
To be in this earth, but not of it.
Right? But what would it actually mean to be of this earth? Because we are in it. And isn't that the call? I mean, we are all longing. We've reached, I've had a lot of years and going down the rabbit hole in search for home because of that longing. And now that a lot of people, as you said, are waking up to it, it's not as strong anymore. But for people who are just waking up, there is this intense longing. That's why they are also waking up, because they're searching. And the more that they search, the more that longing gets not really fulfilled, because it's something that you fulfill on your own through you by owning your magic. But what if we refrain? How can we become of this earth and not actually search for home elsewhere? And how can we be more in here in our bodies on this great earth, because our starlight is needed here now? How can we bring more of that? And we are only ever supported. I mean, with all the photon light that's coming to us, the flares, the solar flares. I just checked. I haven't checked space weather for a long time, just because okay, so there's another M1 solar flare that's coming. No wonder my brain's going haywire. Like, I just stopped looking at space weather, or I've even stopped looking at disclosure, because the Schumann resonance is always 8 up. It rarely goes 7 down anymore, and the normal measure in hertz is 7.5. I see it sometimes, it goes 9, it goes 10, and I'm like, what on earth? Our brains are being fried. They're frying ourselves. But those sun codes are helping us upgrade, and I'm using these terms, but that's really what's going on. And it's galactic. And I want to say this new moon in Libra at 2 degrees is right conjunct the super galactic center. That's like massive area of space that contains more than 30,000 galaxies. How can our minds even comprehend what that would mean? Like, we are literally specks in that grander space-time dimension. And that's where a new moon is going to fall. And that new moon, Venus would be trining Pluto. There's really a call to think locally, but, act galactically. is that even a term? Galactically. And how can we be bearers of, something more galactic, something that's even bigger than the earth, something that's bigger than us? Because what's happening to our universe, and I'm not just saying our planet, what's happening to our universe is unprecedented, and we are all here to come together to, like I said, to just bring our starlight, our unique starlight, and our unique expression.
I loved that so much. I loved it. May I share a little story?
Yes, please.
Okay, so when you were saying being in this earth but not of it, recently, okay, Indian god time. So we all know Ganesha, who's also known as Ganpati. So we had Ganpati or Ganesh days, like 10 days to celebrate the birth of Ganesh. Earlier in this month, it ended right the day that Mercury went stationed retrograde, which is so fascinating because in Vedic astrology, Ganesha is correspondent to Mercury. So of course there were 10 days of praying to Ganesha before Mercury went retrograde. So fascinating. But the story that I want to tell you is the story of Shiva and Parvati. So Shiva and Parvati are the divine masculine and the divine feminine in Hinduism. Shiva, we all know Shiva. He is masculine. He went to the mountain. He meditated for years and years and years. And Parvati was this beautiful goddess. So one day, as Shiva was in the mountains meditating, Parvati was at home and she wanted to go take a shower. She wanted to take a shower and she didn't want anybody to come into the room while she was taking a shower, obviously. So what she did was, there was some sandalwood around her. She took some sandalwood, and it's 12:22 as I say this, and she made a human. She made a human boy out of the sandalwood, stationed him outside and said, if anybody asks to come in, say no because I'm taking a shower. Who comes? Shiva. Shiva comes home from his meditation. He wants to go in and see Parvati. He tells Ganesha, she is my wife. I'm going to go see her. Obviously, he was just created from sandalwood, so he doesn't know that that's his dad. And so Shiva and Ganesh get into something. Shiva cuts off Ganesha's head. He actually had a human head to begin with, but his head was cut off. And Parvati came out, had a big freak out. She was like, I just made this sun from the earth. What are you doing? And Shiva said, instructed his armies, the first living being you see, cut off the head and bring it back. And it was an elephant. And they cut off the elephant head and brought it back to the house. And that is how Ganpati or Ganesha now has an elephant head. Which also had me like thinking like, why elephant? Why elephant? And what I feel from elephants, this is like two parts that I'm gonna summarize. One part is why elephant is like, it's because elephants tell you to take up space, take up the space that you deserve. Elephants also are the largest earth creatures, not including sea creatures, but they're the largest earth creatures. Also, elephants communicate through frequencies. A lot of times they're communicating through frequencies and through like that humans can't even identify. And sometimes they're communicating through below ground just because they're communicating just through frequencies, which is so cool. Okay, so that's the elephant side of it. But the other side of it, and why I even came to this story, is you saying like, we are of the earth. Like this story shares that, yes, there is a side of us that is a god and a goddess and ethereal and starlight and magical. But this story also holds proof, and obviously proof, right? Because it's myth, but it holds proof that humans are created from the ground, from the mud, from all of this, and it's put on our body. So who are we to say we're not from the earth? Yes, we are from the earth, but we have such big disassociation to it because we're going into the head so much. Like, of course, if we're going into the head so much, we're going to feel like we're not from here, we're from the stars, we're from here, we're from there. And yes, we are maybe from the stars. Yes, maybe we are from the earth. Like, but whatever it is, we have all elements within us. And in this earth, we see that all elements also exist. So how can we be so arrogant almost to say that we're not from here? This planet is not our responsibility. Of course it is. Of course it is. I feel like saying that we're not from here is just bypassing the need to take care of the earth. But I've been listening to, and the Lady of Guadalupe is on the giant billboard over there right now, but I've been listening to the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, and there are these original peoples from different parts of the world that have come together to preserve the earth and to talk about the earth and to share mother's medicine. And they share, like, what are we people doing? We're acting as if there is no next generation, next generation. Like, what is going on? Yes, we know that the sun is going to rise every day. Yes, we know that there will always be another day. Maybe we're hopeful that there will always be another day. But also, how can we take more responsibility? And that's Saturn's question over here, right? Because it's hard. That's what it is. It's hard to take responsibility of our own lives, because then we have no one to blame but ourselves. And we don't like to blame ourselves. We like to point at everyone but ourselves. And so Libra season, I feel like, is a great time to, whenever we're pointing at someone else, point that same finger back in. Okay, you're making me feel like this. Look at me. Oh, am I making myself feel like this, or are they making me feel like this? And this is a really long-winded explanation and story, but yeah, that's how I'm feeling about the rest of September. So I'll let you go on and share the aspects and break them down a little bit. Starting the 24th. I
think it's beautiful. Yeah, it's very beautiful. We talked about starlight. We talked about grounding or magic. That's the 24th, Venus opposite Neptune. But we talked about how this aspect is starting now. Even the sun opposite Neptune is starting now. We've been feeling it for a while, and we're just building to it. And we're going to have that energy flow until the rest of October. And yeah, I just want to say that this grounding of our magic is very important, October until December, because we're going to have some major astrology playing out in October to December. But we'll leave that for Practical Magic October. And then, of course, new moon in Libra, and we went on a whole spin about Libra energies, this new moon in Libra, how it's conjunct the supergalactic center. And on the same day, Venus trines Pluto. And we've been talking about Karina was sharing about the 13 grandmothers, and this is Pluto in Capricorn for me. Capricorn for me has always been about the roots of our world tree, our ancestors, our elders, this wise earth, feminine energy that we have forgotten because the dominator culture has us so disassociated from this wise elder grandmother energy. They replaced the grandmother energy to a strict, stern, controlling, dominating fatherhead that we should be fearing. Going back to the 27th, we have Sun opposite Jupiter. This is literally big magic. This is big magic for you. And then we have Mercury retrograde conjunct Venus in Virgo, our mind meeting with our hearts. And then Mercury retrograde trining Pluto, remembering again that wise grandmother spirit. And Uranus retrograde sextile Lilith. Lilith is really all about this dark goddess, dark energy, doesn't want to be fled the Garden of Eden, doesn't want to be under the patriarchy, just wants to be free, wants to express in sovereignty. That's the 27th. And then on the 28th, we have Mars trine Saturn. Where can we take, again, responsibility for our thoughts, for the perspectives that we hold, for our beliefs? How can we make it more so that we can free ourselves We can be our unique expression. We can build a new earth. And I really like quoting Socrates when he said, let's focus our energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. This is Mars trine Saturn retrograde for me. How can we just resource our energies to build the new instead of fighting, defending all those wounded Mars masculine things? You know, our warriors used to be sacred warriors. They were defenders, they were protectors before Shiva goes on and cuts the head. They were protectors of femininity, of nature. But Mars also became wounded because of wars, because of ruling and owning and cutting off, um, dissociating from all of these. So, how can we reframe that and become sacred protectors again of the new that we are building? And of course, the last day, we have Venus entering Libra, remembering again how we can bring our hearts, how can we pay more attention to our heart space as we liberate, um, from all of this old and dying paradigm. We are liberating ourselves individually, and as we do so, we are liberating collectively. But we are in this equal day night, and it's a harvest. It's a day of harvest. Mabon is a day of celebration and a day of harvest, because even though in Celtic myth, it's a celebration of harvest because it's an offering to the dark goddess. How can we reel that myth into our lives? We are celebrating the dark because we're approaching winter. How can we welcome rest and welcome winter instead of, oh my gosh, we're season na, da 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 da, it's peak, it's anyway. Do you want to grab another, do you have another poll for to close this?
I do. I actually want to ask you something before that. Okay, I'll share the poll and then I'll ask you something. So the first card that fell out, of course, Six of Pentacles, all about giving and taking. When you give, you receive. When you receive, you give. Like, this is Libra energy, balance with everything in the material world. How can there be more of a balance? And that's really what we're talking about. Coming back to a balance. Like, yes, we're part stardust, but yes, we're part earth. Yes, we're part air, but yes, we're part fire. You know, it's all about a balance, all about a give and take, all about keep working on what you're working on, but don't get too selfish. Don't hold on too tight to what you're working on. Allow it to flow, because that's the future of currency. That's the future of everything. Flow. Like, so allow it to flow and question everything. Lift the veils. Anything unaligned must go, because that's what's getting in the way of flow. Anything unaligned must go, because that's what's getting in the way of flow. That can be your mantra for Libra season. And now my question for you is, Mercury here on the 27th retrograde conjunct Venus. I feel like Mercury and Venus have been doing this little dance with each other. And so they're conjunct here. And then I think the next time they meet is going to be in Sagittarius season.
Yes.
How are you feeling about their dance, and what's a good, like, short summary on how to feel into this dance and incorporate what's going on, so that when it comes to Sagittarius season, we're kind of set up?
I really like the exercise that we did to bow down, bow our heads to our hearts, and meet in the higher heart. That is this whole Mercury, Venus, Earth, Sun dance that I've been really flowing into, since Venus's Capricorn metacycle started. And Venus in Capricorn metacycle, that's female leadership. That's female sovereignty. You've been talking about all these earth, right? But how do we allow the feminine to lead? It's allowing our hearts to lead, allowing our bodies to take us where our minds wouldn't, because our minds, like you said, our minds trip us up. It's and I want to quote Einstein here. It's our humanity actually use the servant, which is our mind, to rule over the master, which is our heart. So how can we actually allow our master to, be supported by the servant instead of the other way around? That is how I'm feeling into it. Even especially with Sagittarius, where it wants to just break free from all this liminality and all these beliefs and all these philosophies, right? All these philosophies at the end of the day, these are age of Pisces, where we worship other, some disassociated bigger figure aside from the earth and our bodies. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for that answer. It brought to my mind this book that I actually just started reading last night. It says, A Neurosurgeon's Quest to Discover the Mysteries of the Brain and the Secrets of the Heart. And so that sounds pretty fitting. I'll probably talk about it in our next recording once I get deeper, but it's been interesting so far.
Yeah, let me know when you reach the part about neuropeptides, because it actually blew my mind.
I shall.
Okay. And we're still recording.
Yeah. Okay, my friends, our loves. Thank you for being with us for another half episode of Practical Cosmic Magic. It's always such a gift for us to be able to record these videos, for us to be able to flow into these fields and then share it with you as transmissions. And you best believe that we use these transmissions for ourselves too. Like when we're watching it and we're in the actual day and we look back at what we said, we're like, oh my God, we need to take our own advice. Exactly. And so it's really just a lot of times when we're talking to you, we're not talking at you, we're talking with you. Yeah, because exactly. We're also talking to ourselves as we're talking to you. So you already know, like, this is very intuitive, embodied astrology. Thank you, Thea. I'm so grateful. We'll see you for October.
We'll see you for October, and we'd like to invite you. We're meeting. We're actually having a physical in real life gathering. Karina will be there with us to share starry insights for October, and actually whatever wants to flow through her, as we usually invite our space holders to just flow into this space and see what wants to be transmitted that day for the collective. So we hope you'll join us. It's going to be in Sunshine Place, the roof deck, along Jupiter Street, Makati. We can't make this shit up. But that's where we're having our real life gathering. So I hope you meet us in a Sunshine Place along Jupiter. And we'll see you next month. Blessings, so much love.
Thank you.
Bye.